and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I'm here to talk about the latest episode of Superman and Lois. It was called Uncontrollable Forces. And as it starts, Lois is undergoing tests and various treatments, it looks like, to try to determine what has her biology all messed up if it wasn't a pregnancy, which apparently it wasn't, based on what happened at the end of the season 3 premiere. But she hasn't told Clark anything about it. She only told him that, oh, it turns out I'm not pregnant. Nat and Sarah make a plan to go to Metropolis to go to a party being thrown by a boy who, in her world, Nat had a crush on. Lois and Clark go off to interview a judge about Henry Miller, who was denied parole 3 times in a row, but then suddenly got it and came out with superpowers, which we know from the premiere. The former mayor is killed in an alley by the crazy face creature from the premiere, who is apparently called Onomatopoeia, while on a phone call with Lana, during which he tries to explain what he did that led to it, which he doesn't actually get to do, short of saying it was all about the pride of Smallville or something. Jordan and John end up at the same party in Metropolis that Nat and Sarah went to because Jonathan gets an invite from his ex-girlfriend. Speaking of Nat and Sarah, it turns out that the guy Nat had a crush on back on her world has a girlfriend on this world. So Sarah immediately aims her at another guy and forces them to introduce each other to each other. The judge that Clark and Lois are talking to tries to make off like she released the guy because she found out that he had a brain tumor and it was a humanitarian thing, but it became pretty clear a moment later when a couple of thugs showed up that there's more going on here than what she's saying. Nat really hits it off with the guy at the party, while at the same time, Jonathan's ex-girlfriend gives him what looks like a necklace because she's sorry about how their relationship ended. A little later, she even tries to have a romantic interlude with him, but he says that he has a girlfriend and he leaves her wanting. Jordan and Sarah seem to come to a detente about the state of their relationship when they agree to be best buds, which isn't going to work long term because Jordan still has feelings for her and it's just a bad scene. Anyway, when the thugs who interrupted Lois's interview emerge from the courthouse, Lois has Clark tail them. But after he leaves, the judge goes up on the roof, intent on taking a swan dive off the building. And for some reason, Lois doesn't immediately push her emergency Superman call button so that he can come back and stop the judge from going splat. So instead, as Superman, who is now just showing up well past the 30-minute mark of the episode, he has a conversation with Bruno Mannheim, the guy who got Miller released from prison and who is working with Onomatopoeia, while Lois tries to talk the judge down all on her own. Lana, meanwhile, looking sexy as ever in jeans and a sport coat, ends up having dinner with John when she goes to John's looking for Sarah because that's where Sarah said she was going to be. In conversation, she and John realized that what the mayor said on the phone call before he died was a clue to finding a flash drive behind the seal in Lana's office. And when they go to get it, Onomatopoeia shows up and whips up a whole bunch of crazy wind that blows a bunch of glass doors and windows apart before seizing the flash drive and destroying the computer that Lana was trying to copy it onto. Meanwhile, poor Superman is listening to Mannheim drone on in some huge soliloquy in which he accuses Superman of not having changed a damn thing since he's been on Earth and of never having saved lives in the hood, which is complete bullshit. And when he finally shuts the hell up, Superman finally hears from far away what's going on at the courthouse and rushes over there. The judge laments that what's coming for her is uncontrollable, and Lois says that she can relate because obviously whatever is wrong with her is beyond her control, which it turns out is an aggressive cancer. As she's talking about it, Superman shows up, but doesn't swoop in and grab the judge to keep her from going off the ledge. He just lets Lois keep talking her down, which ends up being successful, and which, of course, was also the same moment that she informed him of what was going on with her. Lois and Clark then break the news about Lois's cancer to the boys. And that's where the episode ended. So, I really like this show. And I've liked it from the beginning. But my constant refrain is that it's not a Superman show. It's a family drama show like, the OC or Party of Five, or I don't know about the OC, but, kind of like Party of Five or Desperate Housewives or one of those shows, which I'm happy to watch. I like those shows and I like these characters, with or without the superhero angle. I think they're written well and acted well and so forth. But this show has always been very light on the superhero stuff, week in, week out overall. except for the stuff with Tal Rowe and all that, the Kryptonians business. So, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The show is very popular. It's well liked. It's well made, and it works. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just being stupid by bringing it up because it's working. But at the same time, Superman literally does not do anything in this episode except fly and listen. Doesn't save anybody, doesn't shoot anything with his eyes, doesn't look through anything with his eyes, doesn't lift anything, doesn't break anything. He flies and hovers. That's it. The supervillain is doing all kinds of crazy mind things with his face mind, whatever it is. So, I mean, are they holding off so they can have a bigger confrontation somewhere down the season? I mean, I guess maybe they're doing that, but I don't know. I guess I find it weird that there's no super stuff. And it's crazy because all during The Last of Us on HBO Max, a lot of fans were complaining, where are the zombies? Where are the zombies? This is from a zombie video game. Where are the zombies? Why aren't they fighting zombies? I want to see zombies. And I would be the guy that says, it's not about the damn zombies, you chuckleheads. It's a human drama. It's about the human spirit. It's about, overcoming and surviving and holding a mirror up to humanity. And forget the stupid zombies. They're a plot device. They're not the story. Yet here I am saying, where's the Superman? I think the difference is, and I'm going to point out this so that I don't seem like a hypocrite or a crazy person. I think the difference is that Superman and his superpowers are not a mere storytelling device, a mere plot device in the Superman comics or movies or shows. He's the driver of the story. The story is about him, which is different from something like The Last of Us, where the stories are not about the zombies or the infected. So you can have a series where you go light on something like a group of infected beings while the human drama unfolds, because that's the meat of it. And it isn't that the human drama they create on this show isn't meaty and doesn't serve as the meat of the story. Well, it does. But I still want to see Superman. So what? What? Please, can we have Superman? Can we have Superman in the Superman show? That would be really good. That would be a good thing. And and in the premiere, which I didn't review because I was in the hospital recovering from gastric bypass surgery, when I normally would have reviewed it, it was similarly light on superhero stuff. He does end up being involved in like a disaster event that he has to sort of save people from or whatever in that episode, but it was 3 minutes. So like, I don't understand what they're doing. But at the same time, I find the human drama on this show extremely compelling. The Jordan and Sarah story, the Lana and Kyle and John story, certainly the Superman and Lois story, certainly the Superman, Lois, Jordan, and Jonathan story. Very compelling, very meaty, very meaningful. So it's almost a perfect storm where I'm feeling the absence of the parts of the story that I want them to tell and show, while absolutely loving the stuff they are showing and telling. It's very, very strange. But I think just put a little bit more Superman out. You don't have to take out too much of the drama stuff. I think what they could have cut out of this is the whole thing about Nat and the boy that Sarah ends up aiming her at, because apparently she made an impression on him for the one day that she was at his same school, I guess, before she moved in, with the Kents or whatever, and her dad. And so it's not just a random thing. There's a connection there. He liked her. And so I think they're going to continue that. But like, of all the characters on the show that I think they could spend zero time on and not hurt the show, would be Nat and anybody she gets involved with. Which is not to say they should cut out anything that would have to do with Nat and John, the father-daughter thing. But like, if they're looking for time where they can sneak Superman into the Superman show, they could cut out the Nat romance stuff. Like, I don't care. It's different than Sarah, which is Lana's kid, and Jordan, which is Lois and Clark's kid. That's that's integral, right? That love story is only people being like. So can you work it for Superman instead of that? That would be what I want to see them do, on top of the other stuff they're doing, because it's good, if that makes any sense. Oh, and you know what? They keep talking about Tal Rowe. and they've referenced him a couple of times this episode and previous episode. It's like, can we see him? I like that character a lot last season. So can we just stop name dropping him and bring him back, because I thought he was very cool. And what's he doing on Bizarro World? That could be interesting. Maybe they'll show some of that later in the season. Who knows? But I'm glad they're keeping his name in the in the zeitgeist of the universe, as it were, because I'd like to see that character come back. I like the character a lot. But anyway, that's all I have to say about this episode. I'm gonna get out of here. I will be back to review episode 3 once it airs. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.